What's up, everybody? We're going to review the starter decks. Now, I've never really done a series like this before, but we're going to do it 100% in one take. We're just going to do it live. We're going to do it raw. And let's start it off with the Shanks starter deck. Now, you may be wondering, Shanks? Or is this red-purple Uda in disguise? Honestly, I don't even know what they were doing with this deck. But let's take a look at the first card. The first card is Yasop. Nice little one-drop, 1,000 power, 1k counter, activate main once per turn. Give up to one of your rested Dawn cards to your leader or one of your characters. This effect feels incredibly familiar. It's an effect that's been used on multiple cards, right? Nami has an effect like this. Quell has an effect like this. There's probably other cards as well. It seems like every archetype is kind of getting their own little one Dawn rested Dawn mover card. And not really sure what their plan was for this in Shanks. Shanks definitely not the kind of deck that would rely on a card like this really at all, right? Shanks just wants to control, kind of play pretty defensively, and then just drop as many big bodies as possible, and continuing to control the board. And this doesn't really help any of that, right? Shanks doesn't even have a leader ability that requires Dawn anyways, so very weird card. This card won't see play in Shanks. And I think as a searchable card that does this effect, there's just better options right now. Moving on, Monkey D. Luffy, 1 cost, 2,000 power, 1k counter, activate main. You may arrest one of your Dawn cards and this character. Give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 1,000 power during this turn. Now this card feels a little more on theme for Shanks, but it's Luffy and it's not a searchable Shanks card. It's also a film subtype. Looks like he's wearing the stuff from the Red movie. But yeah, so I mean, when I say it's like up the Shanks alley, I mean it gives minus 1,000 power, but it requires one additional Dawn as well as resting this character. So it's kind of treated like you know, half of a stage, right? But it's a stage that can die, and also just not really what Shanks's game plan wants to go for, right? Again, you just have better options, right? What's his name? The 2k from Shanks's deck that gives like minus 2,000 power. You've already got that. It's searchable. You don't really need much else. And a lot of Shanks are starting to run the stage, right? Which is also searchable. A lot of them consider it like a one of fun of, but you don't really need this card. So unfortunately, this card not going to see playing likely in Shanks at all either. Just doesn't really support its plan unless Shanks just gets a complete overhaul in its identity. This just does not flow with what Shanks is looking to do. Next is Ben Beckman, 4-drop, 5,000 power, 1k counter on play. You may trash one card from your hand. If your leader has the red-haired Pirates type, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 4,000 base power or less. So this is a blocker killer, right? This is a low power blocker killer, right? Not often, and I guess a Sanji killer if you want to kill the 3-drop Sanji. But trashing a card from hand, as well as KOing, right? This is not really on theme with what the other Beckman does, right? Beckman just being an on-play trashing a character based on power, but it's not based on base power either. So you can definitely scale a little bit more with the other Beckman. This Beckman just feels incredibly weak. Again, probably not something Shanks wants to be doing at the 4-drop slot, right? You'd rather just play a Lucky Roo, or just wait for the 5-Dawn turn to establish some of your mid-range bodies like the Sleeping Luffy, or some, you know, if you're running a more aggro control variant, you could run the Marco, right? This card. I don't like that you have to trash a card from hand. I also don't like that they didn't give you the flexibility, right, to do some minus power shenanigans, right? It is a 4,000 base power, right? So you can't reduce a 5k down to 4 and then use this effect to KO it. So ultimately, just not a card that's probably going to see Shanks see play in Shanks either, right? It's just the ceiling for how high of a card it can kill is just too low to hit something worthwhile, right? Maybe if Shanks is really having a problem with Animal Zoro, maybe you can tech this in to KO some of the bodies that come off of the chopper, but this doesn't kill the chopper, so it's just not a solid card. All right, let's move on to the SRs. Probably the card that's probably going to see the most play out of this starter deck is the 9-drop Shanks, 10,000 power, big boy. If your opponent has a character with 8,000 base power or more, give this card minus 3 cost in your hand. So potentially a 6 cost, 10k power character that is searchable, right, in the Shanks deck, as well as having a really nice on play. If your leader has the red-haired Pirates type or is Uta, Your leader gains plus 2,000 power until the end of your opponent's next end phase. If you thought Shanks was already hard to attack into with his leader ability, it is now even harder, as now Shanks could be a 7k power leader for both your turn and your opponent's turn. Pretty strong. I definitely see this card finding its way into Shanks. Now you do have to kind of feel out what you could remove in the top end slots of Shanks, right? That you run. You're obviously going to run your Rayleighs. Some Shanks have started to drop Dragon a little bit, drop their ratios on Dragon. I've seen a lot more favorability towards the 10 drop KO Shanks, right? But obviously they play 10 drop Shanks, so maybe you have to adjust your ratios a little bit for this. But I think this could be a fun like a 2 to 3 up potentially in the deck. Especially because, you know, this card it's probably going to have a whole lot of targets, right? If you look into the meta that's coming up right now, one of the biggest characters that has 8,000 power, off the top of my head, is the new Katakuri blocker, right? So this could work pretty well against decks that leverage that, right? So purple Luffy, blue-purple Luffy, any other deck that, you know, pudding, stuff like that. Just decks that just play big bodies, right? You could work with that, right? Obviously, all the decks that I just named have bigger bodies than the Katakuri, but that's just the card that's coming off the top of my head. Buggy as well, the new card for that deck, the Crocodile and Mihawk deck, is an 8,000 power as well. So that's another. I think it's an 8,000 power. Am I crazy? No, I gotta look it up. I swear I looked at these cards earlier. Let me see here. Okay, no, it's a 7,000 power. Never mind, I take that back. Yeah, so, you know, you're going to have targets on your opponent's side of the board. Obviously, not going to be good into matchups where they're kind of low to the board, right? So, Zoro, things like that. Maybe not going to allow you to trigger that, but still, you know, the chance of playing it out for 6 is just, you know, the dream, right? But playing it out for 9, basically Whitebeard effect for your leader on something that's searchable. Sounds like just a great card to play. Next up is, well, I guess finally for Shanks, is the Uta blocker. Everybody was shocked by this card. It's a unsearchable, so let's go over the card. 6 cost 4,000 power, 2k counter. If you have a character with 10,000 power or more, give this character in your hand -4 cost. With blocker, it's Uta. And film subtype, so not searchable in the Shanks deck, but it is a 2k, which is pretty nice. It also is a cheap blocker option in the late game for Shanks. Don't love that it's an unsearchable 2k, right? I think right now what Shanks decks run, the 2Ks for in the red-haired pirates, and then like some run like Otama, right? Or the blocker Sanji, right? Or blocker Chopper, which both are unsearchable in the deck as well. This could be a potential stand-in for maybe the blocker Chopper. I don't know. The blocker Chopper is just so good, but the potential for this character costing only 2 Dawn is pretty high and significant in the Shanks builds, right? Even if you just have a Rayleigh on board, you just attach 2 Dawn to it, right? It doesn't say base power, so you can attach Dawn to something to make it 10,000 power or more, and then functionally reduce this card, you know, down to a 2 cost, right? So in the late game for Shanks, if you're running into situations where you want to establish a blocker while also establishing, you know, pushing damage, right? Trying to utilize your Dawn a little bit better. You know, attaching 2 Dawn to a Rayleigh, attaching 3 Dawn to a Beckman, right? To allow you to play this, you know, could be pretty good. But also, you know, if you're playing the new Shanks, if you're playing either of the 10 drop Shanks, right, you're going to meet that threshold immediately. Yeah, I think even if you play Dragon, you just attach 1 Dawn to it, and you can play this out for pretty cheap. Otherwise, just 2k in hand. I know people don't like the idea of a 6 cost blocker that doesn't have enough stats, right, to block an attack, right? But this is really just like a safety net blocker, right? This is your emergency button that you press at the end of the game. If you're trying to survive for one more turn cycle, it is a little, you know, good against those decks that rely on cost-based removal for blockers, right? So being effectively a 6 cost that you can play for a lot cheaper, you know, puts it in the same realm as the 6 cost Sanji. 6 cost Sanji, being a 6k blocker is incredibly good for that card. So this card is definitely an emergency button. I might see some Shanks decks run this potentially as just another late game blocker, because you do run into situations sometimes where you just want to drop a bunch of blockers, right, to stall the game out for 1 turn so you can apply some pressure and then go for the next turn. So this could definitely be something you could see play. Moving on to, let's see, we're going to go in order. So next color is green. Good old Jewelry Bonney. A lot of people not as, pretty disappointed, I guess, with some of the reveals from this. But let's go over here. Let's talk first card. This X-Drake, 5 cost, 5,000 power, 2k counter. On play, if your leader has a Supernova's type, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. Then set up to one of your Dawn cards as active at the end of the turn. It's a 2k counter. It's a Supernova. Slap it in the deck. Right? That's what I say. I've been playing Bonney a bit here recently just to combat a lot of the aggro decks in my local meta, Green, Purple, Luffy, and the sorts. And I actually took it to finals. I uploaded a video last week of me facing it Blackbeard. Pretty crazy game. I ended up winning that game as well. So definitely check that out if you haven't yet. But anyways, definitely gonna, looking a good 2Ks in Bonney, right? The only good 2K that we have right now in Bonney is the Tashigi, right? So we're looking for some searchable slots that we can put in. So X-Drake could probably replace one of the Apus, right? Scratchman Apus that Bonney typically runs for 2Ks. So slap those in there. Most often just a 2K, but hey, if you need to just establish a body on board, rest a character on your opponent's side like a blocker, right? You could use this as a pseudo Hody Jones. Nice part about it is it does set up a Dawn. So you don't have to worry about leaving one Dawn up or having another character that does that already. So I call that a pretty good card. Moving on, we've got 4 cost 4k Basil Hawkins, 2 cape counter, end of your turn, set up to one of your Dawn cards as active, and he is a Supernova. This is the Rouge at home, right? Your mom says, we've got a Rouge, this is our Rouge at home. And yeah, Basil Hawkins, no blocker, right? Is a 2k counter, which is pretty nice, but does functionally have a Rouge's effect of allowing you to turn on Bonney's ability. Personally, I don't think I like this card as much. I mean, if we want to take out all of the Supernovas package, right? You want to take out both Apus, that's fine. I do think the Apu from EBO1, which was reprinted in this deck, right, the one that rests up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less, is pretty warranted, right? Pretty good card. It could allow you to take out a low-cost blocker. I know in this next meta here, we're going to have potentially a few opportunities for decks to play lower-cost blockers, right? We're seeing kind of a resurgence of the 1-cost blockers come through. So this Scratchman Apu could actually be still pretty decent in the deck. And so if I'm running that, I'm running Tashigi's, running the X-Drakes. Don't really have room for the Hawkins. It's just a nice to have if you want to try something different. But ultimately, probably not playing this card out on the field, right? It's just going to be a 2k in hand. Alright, the next card, Capone Gang Beige, 2 cost 1,000 power, 1k counter. Blocker, on play, if you have 6 or more rested cards, draw 1 card, trash 1, and trash 1 card from your hand. Supernova's type as well. So it is searchable. This is I guess another option that you could play off of, right, 8-drop Kid. Where I could see this potentially replacing is Bartolomeo, right? The only difference is power-based removal kind of really hurts this card, right? Bartolomeo at least has a little bit of resiliency against some of those lower cost power removal cards. Yeah, this is also another card that can easily get taken out by Gum Gum Mulgun, right? So they minus 5k to your kid, and then they just pop this card. So that is one part where Bartolomeo has a little bit more advantage in that scenario, because it doesn't die to Mulgun. But being able to get a brick out of your hand, right? Now you would have to play. This is basically something you'd play off of Kid, right? I think is how this is set up, or just a quick late game blocker. But again, if I was going to replace a card in the deck for it, probably be Bartolomeo. I think the Rosinantes are way too important, especially in decks that don't run Mulgun, right? It's just such a good card in them in a lot of different matchups that I definitely wouldn't take those out. But this might be a fun two of you could potentially play in the list to give you another option for late game blockers. But being able to cycle in green, pretty good, pretty solid. Bonney does run a lot of bricks, so getting bricks out of hand, pretty good. All right, let's jump to this SRs. We've got Kid and Killer, 2 cost 2,000 power, dual character card. Has 2 different types, but 1k counter on play. Look look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 Supernova's type card, add it to your hand, then place the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order, and then a second effect on your opponent's attack. You can trash this character and set up to 1 of your Dawn cards as active. Chef's Kiss of a card, run this in Bonney all day. This card's already getting spec'd to also see play in like red-green law, yellow-green law. It's another Supernova Searcher in green. You love to see it. And then even for the Bonney side of it, just that second ability, being able to trash this character and setting up one of your Dawn, right? So order of operations, this would happen at the same time as Bonney's ability. And so you can pick which one happens first. So you can choose to trash this character, set up your Dawn, and then you can use Bonney's ability to pay that Dawn to rest a character. So works out really well. I think this card is definitely a 4 of in the deck. Just having another option outside of Bonney to find your 8-drop kids, find find your counter, your 2Ks, your Cavendishes, things like that. This card incredibly solid. And again, I think this card's going to see more play in other Supernova decks or other green decks as well that run the Supernovas package. So definitely, you'll definitely see this card see a ton of play, and this design's pretty cool, especially that second effect for Bonney. All right, the final card for Bonney is the 10-drop Law and Beppo. 10 cost, 11k power, dual character leader, or dual person, or 2-character. On play, rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters, and that character will not become active in your opponent's next refresh phase. Then, if your opponent has 2 or more rested characters, your leader gains 2,000 power until the end of the opponent's next end phase. We've got another card from the starter deck's batch that buffs your leader up by 2k, making it a 7k leader for a whole turn cycle. The Whitebeard effect, as some may say. I really like this card. I think this card is really cool. I love that this card's a Supernova, right? Searchable. A lot of Bonney's top end right now is unsearchable because we run Doflamingo, we run Shanks. The only top end that's searchable is the Kid. So having another top end piece that is searchable, pretty solid. Now you may be saying, what would you replace this for? I guess Doflamingo, but Doflamingo plays its own part in the deck, right? Being able to keep 3 things locked down is incredibly good, right? So strong. And most importantly, I think Doflamingo also hits a leader. So that gives Doflamingo a lot more love. But where I think about, what's better is in the realm of rotation, right? Eventually, Doflamingo will rotate out because it is block 1. So we might see this card see a little more favor in Bonney. I'm definitely going to try it. Maybe as like a fun 2 of, right, in the deck. I do really like the effect of resting one of my opponent's characters, right? So sometimes you get in this awkward situation with Doflamingo where there's just not a good target rested by the time you play Doflamingo out. Like, let's say, they play out a really big character that is going to hit you the next turn, but you can't really do anything about it, right? But the fact that this one rests a character and then locks it down is pretty great. And then again, Bonney already being already requiring 1 more swing to really do damage to, also being a swing that you're gonna have to commit some Dawn to, right? It is pretty solid, being a 2k leader. So definitely something I'm gonna try. The fact that it's searchable kind of brings it up in my book, but its effects itself are pretty cool. I know, Carrot is also very interested in this card because it is a Minx type as well. So it might be the good, very, very strong top end for Carrot. Give Carrot some legs. But we'll see. Definitely, I'm gonna try it and see what I think. See how it plays and differently if it plays better than Doflamingo, right? All right, let's move on to Buggy. I did a little bit of video series on Buggy back in OP10. Played a little bit of Buggy. I enjoy Buggy. Buggy's a fun deck. Cool. I was glad to see Shoe Buggy get reprinted, which is pretty cool in the starter deck. But anyways, we've got a few cards here. Pretty solid cards. We got starting off with the Alvida, 4 cost 5k power, 1 cost or 1k counter. If you have 2 or more characters with a base cost of 5 or more, this character gains +1 cost. On play, if your leader is Buggy, draw 3 cards and trash 2 cards from your hand. Did you just say drawing cards in Buggy? That's exactly what we want to do, right? With leader effect, we're going to be discarding cards, basically 2 for 1ing ourselves. So being able to make up for a little bit of that on a nice little 4-drop body that can become a 5 cost body if you got a few more 5 costs on the board is a very solid card. I'm would definitely run 4 of these in the Buggy deck. Just that on play is incredibly good. Sometimes Buggy gets in this really awkward situation where you're forced to go second, right? And you just don't have a play on that forward on play. And having this to kind of fill that gap, right, and give you a few more bodies on board that will likely fulfill good old 10-drop Buggy's condition, incredibly strong. And this card also works really well with a card we'll talk about later. Moving on, we've got 4 cost, 1,000 power, 2k counter, Kabaji. If you have 2 or more characters with a base cost of 5 or more, this character gains blocker and +1 cost. And then on your opponent's turn, this character gains plus 5,000 power. So effectively a blocker that can't attack, right? Being a 6,000 on your opponent's turn, 4/4, not a blocker yet, right? You gotta have a few more characters on board, but the fact that it can be a blocker, a 6k blocker with a 2k counter, incredibly good. Definitely, I'm definitely gonna run this card. Likely gonna take out the Moji, right? We have some very ineffective 2Ks, right? That Moji that is from OP09. Definitely slot that out for this. You could put it into play with a lot of your cards that put other characters into play, right? Crocodile, Shoe Buggy, and then another one that we'll talk about here soon. Solid card. The fact that, if you play it into a pretty full board, it's just another blocker, right? We don't just have Mihawk to rely on for blocking. We've got another card. Incredibly, I really like this card from the deck. Next up is 4 cost 1,000 counter Moji, 1,000 power, 2k counter Moji. If you have 2 or more characters with a base cost of 5 or more, this character gains blocker and +1 cost. So very similar to Kabaji's effect, right? Pretty much the same effect. And then on KO, if your leader's Buggy and you have 3 or less cards in hand, draw 1 card. So it does offer a little bit of refill if your hand's getting a little low from constantly using leader ability and the whatnots. I like this card as well. I don't like this card as much as Kabaji, but if I want to functionally replace the 2/2Ks that are already in the deck, right? This could also just replace the Bond Clay, right? The Mr. 2s that people have been running because it's just another 5 cost body with 2k. But we could see this one just come out instead, right? Being another late game blocker that you can just play out off of one of your other characters. That also has the benefit of drawing you a card, right? If your hand's getting a little low, to help you fuel up for your next turn. Seems pretty solid as well. Definitely would probably run this one as well. Don't love it as much as Kabaji, but I think it has still a pretty solid effect. Next, let's move on to probably the most divisive card of the Buggy deck since it's been revealed. And this is good old Buggy's super rare Buggy. 4 cost 1,000 power, 1,000 counter. Activate main, you may trash 1 card from your hand and trash this character. If your leader's Buggy, play up to 1 cross-guild type character card with a cost of 6 or less from your hand. Man, imagine a world where it said 7 cost or less instead, and we'd be in business. But this pretty much only puts into play a vanilla, any of the 4 costs that we've already showcased, or the Mihawk, which is kind of the I guess what this card is made for right now. Is so you're 2 for 1ing yourself, right? So this is the leader ability. Right, the leader ability on, to a degree, on a character, right? So you're playing the character, so it's -1 card, trashing this character, trashing a card from your hand, and this character, so you're -2 cards to put another card into play from your hand, which is -3 cards. So you go 3 cards less, just do this effect. If you're not putting Mihawk into play, you're down 3 cards, right? Because then you play Mihawk, Mihawk's going to draw 2 trash 1s, so then you're up a card, or up 1 card, but you're technically still down 2 cards, right? So it's still strictly worse than just activating Buggy's ability and putting Mihawk into play. But I guess the silver lining is you can do this on your forward on turn, so you can do this when you're going second, right? And you want to play a Mihawk out early. Ultimately, I don't think this card is going to be solid for this deck unless they show us a 6 cost or less cross guild card in the future that is stacked, right? That makes up a bit of that hand size better than Mihawk does. Then maybe this will see some play. But for now, I think this card is just not it. It's not where I want it to be right now. Definitely would not run this, just because, again, if you're not putting Mihawk into play, you're -3 cards immediately. Which is really hard for Buggy. Buggy tries to keep a pretty decently sized hand because you're going to be discarding a lot anyways off of leader effect and such. All right, on to probably the best card and the card I'm most excited for Buggy, and that's Crocodile Mihawk, 8-drop, 7,000 power, another character with 2 characters on it. On play, draw 2 cards, trash 1 card from your hand, then play up to 1 cross-guild type character card with a cost of 4 or less from your hand. And then once per turn, if your cross-guild type character would be removed from the field by your opponent's effect, you may trash 1 card from your hand. Instead, this card is a house. Yeah, obviously it's cross-guild, so you can play it for 5 Dawn using Buggy's leader effect. But draw 2 trash 1, so Mihawk's ability plus Crocodile's ability. Smash into 1 card, incredibly good. Offers some, some cycling. It is plus technically net 0 on cards, right? So you play this card out, it draws you a card. So really great for the hand size, but also being able to play a 4-cost out, so you could play out the Alvida and then just go up another, right? Just continue cycling through cards, right? You draw 2 trash 1, draw 3 trash 2, right? Incredibly good if you put Alvida into play. Pretty good if you also just put one of those 2 blockers into play, right? So if in the late game you've got a few 5-cost characters on board, you play this Croc, play out a blocker, right? Make life infinitely harder for your opponent. Very good card. And that second effect, one of the biggest problems I had with Buggy was its struggle into decks that are removal heavy, and this card essentially helps you out in that situation pretty easily. Just discarding a card from your hand to save any character once per turn. This also works if multiple characters are being KO'd at the same time, right? Just works just like Rosinante or Tashigi. You can just trash 1 character to save every character that would be KO'd. So if Lucci comes down, KO's a 2 and a 1, you can discard 1 card and save them both. So incredibly strong. I love this card. This is also really good against Gravity Blade. Right, Gravity Blade targets both of your characters, which is another bane of existence for this deck. Targets both of your characters, you just use this card's effect, trash 1 card, saves them both. So really good. This card's 100% a 4 of, goes really well with the other cards that you're adding from this deck, the other 4 costs. So this is definitely I see this deck potentially stepping up in the tiers in the meta. Definitely not going to be tier 1, but it might be a solid tier 2 option. All right, moving on. Let's look at the purple-black Luffy deck here. And who doesn't love some purple-black Luffy? Definitely deserves some love here. Starting off with 8-drop Frankie, General Frankie, 10,000 power. On play, Dawn -2. Give up to 2 of your opponent's characters -2,000 power during this turn. Big old body. Got a -2 on it. That's what we love to see. I don't want to see any, you may return 1 or more Dawn, right? We don't want to give Purple Luffy any more food. All right, Purple Luffy's eaten enough. It got to eat all of set 9. Got to eat all of Black Purple Luffy's support. So it's nice to see some more tuned cards towards Purple Luffy. It kind of plays into the minusing power effect that they've kind of given some of these Straw Hat cards for the purple Black Luffy deck, which is very strange because minus power in a purple black deck doesn't really make sense. Minus cost maybe would have been better, right, to kind of work with some of the more destruction of the black. It's very interesting to me that that this is a two color leader with black in it, but they haven't given us anything to synergize with the black aspect of the deck. So yeah, very strange. Do I think this card's gonna see play? No, I don't think this card's gonna see play. It's cool. It's a cool little effect. But it's just too expensive. You have better cards to play for at this amount of Dawn. You've got Rush Luffy, the Gear 5 Luffy. You've got better options, right? Even 7-drop Sanji. So I just, yeah, that's not going to see any play. Even, like, some might be running the 8-drop Katakuri from this new set. Neat effect, though. Next up is good old Soba Mask. So 7 cost, 9,000 power. If you have a Sangoro or Sanji character with 7k base power or more, give this character to your hand, -5 cost. On play, return all of your Sangoro and Sanji characters to the owner's hand. So if you've got a Sangoro or Sanji character with 7,000 base power or more, you can basically play this out as a 2-cost 9,000 power, though it's going to return those other cards back to your hand. So you could potentially, play out a Rush Sanji again, right, on the next turn. You could potentially play out a Rush like 9-down turn, play out 7-drop Sanji. Tap something down, swing, 7k, play this down, return that to your hand, right? And the next turn, do it again, right? So the recyclability is pretty cool. This also works, funny enough, with the blue to secret rare Sanji, right? So blue purple Luffy, some people are already like spinning up some ideas of like constantly putting the purple Sanji back, blue Sanji back in your hand, so you can do it again, right? You don't have to search for another one. You can just keep running the same one. This card's also like funnily good, like good against Blackbeard too, right? It's ultimately a 2-cost 9k that doesn't do anything, right? It doesn't have it on play, so it's just a really cheap 9k body that you can play out. I think this card has some pretty interesting play patterns. Maybe like a 2 of fun of in the deck, right? To enable some shenanigans with just like the 7-cost Sanji, or potentially the secret Sanji. Who knows what people are going to cook up, but I think it's a pretty fun card. All right, now we've got Chopper, 2020 Chopper, 3-cost 4k counter 1k, or 4k power 1k counter. Could you tell I've been talking for a while? Blocker on play. Dawn -1. Rest up to one of your opponent's Dawn cards or characters with a cost of 1 or less. It's a blocker. It can take your opponent off Gum Gum Giant, right? So rest up to one of your opponent's Dawn. It's pretty cool. Pretty nice, right? So in potential purple Luffy mirror situations, whether you're playing like if you're playing green purple or blue purple, right? Blue purple more specifically because they're often just going to have 1 Dawn up anyways after they play their 9 Dawn Sanji or Big Bomb. So is this going to see play? Probably not. I think this obviously sees the best play in purple black Luffy. I don't think the deck maybe has enough room for a blocker of this type, right? This is really just a cheese blocker to try to cheese your opponent out of an event. Ultimately, you've just got better options in the deck of blockers, so you know, maybe a 1-up for funsies, but I don't think this card's going to see a lot of play. Alrighty, moving on to the super rares. We've got good old Nico Robin, 3-cost 4k power, 2k counter on play, Dawn -2. Add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. We found ourselves another Zoro, purple Zoro. We've got another purple Zoro that ramps, right? So if you don't see the purple 5k Zoro on your 3 Dawn turn going first to ramp, you can instead just play out this Nico Robin. So you have 8 copies of a ramper for 3. More importantly, this one's a 2k counter too. So obviously being able to counter things is pretty nice, but it's just another way to accelerate the deck. Obviously going to be a nice 4 of in the deck. Gotta play it. Right, so now purple black Luffy going first, likely gonna have more options to ramp up to 6 Dawn on their 3 Dawn turn, which is pretty awesome for the deck. I'm glad to see it allow them to ramp up faster, to drop their bigger drops and go nuts. And then finally, probably the coolest card, I think this card has a lot of people hype, 6-drop, 7,000 power, Monkey D. Luffy. No counter on this one, but on play and when attacking, Dawn -2 if your leader is multicolored and your opponent has 5 or more Dawn cards on their field. Your Straw Hat Crew type leader's base power becomes 7,000 until the end of your opponent's next end phase. We've got another card. This is our 3rd card here out of these starter decks that makes your leader 7k. It kind of definitely helps purple black Luffy's, like, one of its problems. And this is the fact that it's a 4-life leader that has some trouble in protecting itself, right? This is just immediately making your leader have better options, right, to stay at a higher power point, to just more efficiently counter out of things, and doesn't allow you to potentially get as overwhelmed. The fact that it's on play when attacking is really good into like Blackbeard, right? So you can still attack with it on the next turn and make your leader 7k, which is pretty cool. I like this card a lot. I think this card's an absolute staple in this deck specifically. Could see some play in other decks as well, right? You could play this in green purple Luffy, make your leader a 7k, and then leader effect to make your leader an 8k, right? Because this is base power, so yeah, you can be an 8k leader. Imagine a green purple Luffy that's an 8k leader. Yikes, that's disgusting. But you could also play this in this isn't as, because it sets your leader to 7,000, not as good in blue purple Luffy or red purple Luffy because they're 6k leaders, so it's really just a 1k buff. Not as good in those decks, but who knows, could see play as well, especially if like you've got this and like 8-drop kid or 7-drop kid in red purple Luffy. You can make your leader an 8k every turn at the expense of 3 Dawn, which is quite a bit. So definitely its homes in purple black Luffy. Definitely gonna see this card see a lot of play for sure. Really good card. All right, Let's see here. What do we got next? Oh no, it's Martial DT, just Blackbeard. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I hate Blackbeard. I think this deck is. I think this deck's really hard to play, and I respect anyone that does well with it because I suck at this deck. But I hate playing against this deck, and the fact that they give this deck a whole lot of removal really is frustrating. So let's look at it here. I won't have as much to say because again, I don't play these decks. I don't really play this archetype. I have piloted a little bit. I know quite a bit of people that are pretty good at it. But anyways, one cost 1,000 power. Activate main once per turn. You may rest one of your full lead cards. If your leader has the Blackbeard Pirates type, this character gains plus 4,000 power during this turn. On KO, draw one card. This card sucks. I'm gonna be honest. You gotta rest your stage. Make this character 5k on KO, draw a card. This card's not gonna see any play, right? Blackbeard's looking for two things. It's looking for KOs and it's looking for 2Ks. This card is neither of those. So let's move on. We've got one cost 1,000 power 2k Katarina Devon. You may trash this character if your leader has the Blackbeard Pirates type. -1 cost. Give -1 cost to one of your opponent's characters during this turn. On KO, draw a card. Notably, the first effect does not trigger the second effect. If you trash this character, it does not let you draw a card because it is an on KO effect. So I guess it's like a worse, stronger in a pinch, right? So if Blackbeard is hardcore, is really has a hankering for some 2Ks, maybe it would play this deck, play this card. But there's just a better card coming out in OP11 that's just gonna work better with Blackbeard. It's the Caribou card, right? It's a blocker on play trash 2, but you don't have on play, so it doesn't matter. It's a 2K, like 2-cost blocker. All right, moving on. We've got San Juan Wolf, 4 cost, 6,000 power, 1K counter. If your leader has the Blackbeard Pirates type, this character gains blocker and +1 cost for every 4 cards in your trash. Trash 1 card from your hand on play. Okay, it's a blocker. It's a 6k blocker that increases its cost for every 4 cards, and then on play you have to trash a card, but it doesn't matter because you're Blackbeard. So I guess they kind of built this card to maybe is this a future proof, right, for another Blackbeard Pirates leader? Maybe the fact that you have to on play trash a card. Who knows, right? That's my thought. But this card's also sucks. This card's not good. It's not what Blackbeard wants to do, right? Blockers are good, but you want blockers that do a little bit more than this. I mean, it's just a 4 cost 6k blocker and that's it, right? Not very good. Moving on, we've got the super rare 6 cost 6,000 power 1k counter Kuzan blocker. On KO, play up to 1 Blackbeard's Pirates type character with a cost of 5 or less from your trash rested. So nice little 6k blocker. It is 6 costs though, so it does fit in a very specific curve. I know Blackbeard has a very tight timeline for what it can play on each turn, right? So if you don't play this on the 6 dawn or 7 dawn turn, you're likely not going to have time to play it later in the game, just because a lot of Blackbeard's characters are 4 and 5 costs, right? So you could play this and the Burgess on the same turn, but you couldn't play this in like a Katarina Devon or a Van Augur. So I think this card's pretty neat. I think that this card may be run as like a one of fun of, right, in a Blackbeard list. Being able to return a Burgess, return any of your 5 cost or less cards, as well as another Kuzan rested, is pretty good. But the keyword here is rested, which is not as good, right? Burgess does not have protection from being attacked into, so maybe not as good as I thought it would be. So maybe just again a one of fun of in the deck. All right, finally we've got 7 cost Martial D Teach 8k. Hey, look, it's another Jack. Activate main. You may rest this character. Okay, up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less. Or sorry, up to. I see. I automatically started talking. KO up to 1 character with a cost of 3 or less. So you can target your own characters. On KO, add up to 1 black card from your trash to your hand. We've got a Jack. Does not cycle, which would be busted, but it is a searchable KO, a constant KO effect for the Blackbeard deck. So you stack this up with a Van Augur, you can start KOing 8Ks, 8 cost or less, or not, sorry, 6 cost or less. Stack it with 2 Van Augurs, you can start KOing 9 costs every turn. And then if they kill it, you get any black card from your trash. So if you get this on board and want to pitch a 10-drop Teach for leader effect, you're going to be able to get it back. potentially. So that's pretty nice. I think that effect being pretty unconditional for black cards is kind of crazy. Will this card see a play in other decks? Maybe, but I think the draw one, trash one from Jack, as well as the the cost increase, is just way too good for other black decks. So I don't know. People might test with this because you could like get back like a 10-drop Kuzan out of your yard, right? Which is like, for black decks, it's like if that card ends up in your trash, you're just kind of screwed, right? It's just a card you'll never be able to get back. So who knows if people are going to play it. It's definitely going to be see play in Blackbeard, probably like a 3 of. Maybe a 2 or 3 of in the deck. Definitely going to make it more resilient against low to the ground aggro decks. So, yeah, it's pretty unfortunate for those, right? But yeah, pretty solid card. I'm happy for Blackbeard that they get to have something cool. All right, this is a long ass video. Oh jeez. All right, Yamato. Last starter deck we're revealing or talking about. Yamato, let's start off with the Ashura Doji. Yeah, Ashura. 3 cost, 3k, 1k counter. On play, if your leader has a land of mono type, and your opponent has 3 or more life cards, K up to one of your opponent's characters with a base cost of 5 or less. Chef's kiss. I'll take it. It's a kill smell. One of the issues that Yamato kind of falls into, especially against 5-cost leaders, is you kind of get that first 5 life leaders. You kind of get that first swing pretty easily, but that second swing going to be a whole lot harder for the Yamato. So being able to play down a 3-drop that just KOs a 5-cost or less, right? KOs likely a pesky blocker, a 6k blocker. Incredibly nice for the deck. It's also just a 1k counter, so you can always just counter with it once you no longer meet the effect of it. So I think that card's pretty solid. Might be I probably run it as like a fun like 2 to 3 of maybe in the deck. Definitely like the effect though. Next up is 2 cost, 1000 power, 1k counter Izo. Hello, it's me, Nami. Nami as a Land of Wano searchable character. On play, your leader, Land of Wano type leader, gains banish during this turn. Don X2, this character gains blocker, so it's a blocker in a pinch, right? If you want to use leader ability to give it blocker. But the bigger, more important part is you now have a searchable way to give banish to your double attacking leader, which I think is the biggest upside to this card, right? Having conditional blocker is a nice little cherry on top. But yeah, I think this card's really good. I think we're gonna see you're gonna start to see the Yamato deck maybe lean more towards Land of Wano builds. You might even see the Namis come out for Izo, or maybe like a split or something, right? Because I think people play the Nami for the fact that you can just like hit a trigger out of life to KO a 5 or less. But yeah, this Izo's pretty darn good. Definitely gonna see some play. Next up, we got a 4 cost 5k Kinemon, 2k counter. It has a trigger if your leader has the Land of Wano type and your opponent has 3 or less cards. Play this card. Cool. It's a Kiku Nojo 2k. I'll take it. Right. It's a 5k body. Coming out of life, otherwise it's just a 2k in hand. Exactly what I want to see out of just like generic support for an archetype. Love to see it. Nice 4 of. Just slap it in the deck. Just do it. Right? You don't need Frankies anymore. This is your guy. Kinemon's your guy. Alright, let's take a look at the super rares. Let's talk about Yamato first. 1 cost, 0 power, 1k counter. 2 effects. Don X2, your turn. This character gains plus 3000 power. So can become a 5k power swinger. So this is our first 1-drop searcher that you slap. All you gotta do is use leader effect, and it's now a 5k beater. Pretty solid effect, and something definitely not to squawk at, right? So often people play down searchers and you just kind of ignore them, but this is definitely the searcher you don't want to ignore, right? So if they swing at you once, you definitely want to kill it. Which is ultimately taking away a potential attack at your other characters on the board or your life, right? If they decide to focus this card, and otherwise you can just keep poking them every turn, right? Just a 2-Don investment to make a 5k attacker, just a poke, pitch, little bit of damage at your opponent, pretty solid, little chip damage. And then on play, other part of it is the searcher. So look at the top 5. Reveal up to 1 Land of Wano type card, cost of 2 or more, add to your hand, place the rest at the bottom. Notably not color locked, so you can find any Land of Wano type, blue, yellow or green. So that's pretty cool. And then 2 cost or more, so you can't find like the other Yamato, you can't find Momonosuke's, can't find Otama's, but you can find pretty much everything else. So that's solid card. Run 4 of, slap it in Yamato, run a 4 of. You're now a Land of Wano build. So you got to run 4 of those, as well as the other cards. And then finally, we got Kozuke Momonosuke. 6 cost 7k power. Your turn. If you have 2 or less life cards, your leader gains plus 1000 power. Activate main once per turn. You may return 2 total of your currently given Dawn cards to your cost area rested. This character gains rush and 1000 power during this turn. Okay, pretty solid. Being at 2 or less life, your leader getting plus 1000 power, just like being a 6k for just your turn. It's just like a nice little bonus, right? If you're in the weeds a little bit, to just keep trying to push damage. And then yeah, the effect. So basically, you need to return 2 attached on, right? Whether it's given to your leader, given from your leader ability, or just you attaching Dawn, you just have to return 2 of your totally. So just swing with other characters, then play this character. Gains rush. It's an 8k, solid card. I would run 4 of these. Just pretty decent mid game, right? Continues to push damage. Also, if your leader is low on life, just let your leader chip for a bit more. Very solid. Rush in yellow. Love to see it. Exactly what you want to see for Yamato. Anyways, that is all of the cards. Is there a starter deck that I am more inclined to purchase? Probably the Buggy one. Buggy one seems pretty cool. Purple Black Luffy, as well as Yamato. Those are definitely pretty gassed up, for sure. Definitely going to be picking up all of them. Probably not going to be touching the Blackbeard one, but definitely more excited for some of these others, like Yamato and Buggy. Yamato, Buggy, Purple Black Luffy. Kind of the decks that already don't see play. Like, want to see how those can get into the meta and do a little bit more work. But anyways, if you enjoy this type of video, definitely I guess subscribe. If you're still watching at this point, like, kudos to you. This must be like a podcast at this point. But anyways, thanks everybody.